And you're waking up with Damo here on 4AK. It is time for us to get a bit of local history. And of course, we do that with historyouthere.com and Harold Peacock, who is on the line this morning. Good morning, Harold.
Oh, yes, good morning, Damie. It's cricket season, so I thought I'd go into the history of cricket a little bit for you.
Well, of course, as we know, the test finishing in just 2 days, it was all over Red Rover, but that's not surprising for residents on the Darling Downs, is it?
No, that's right, because back in 1894 to 1924, England played Toowoomba in 2-day matches every time.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah, you see, look, it wasn't uncommon for international touring teams, and it still isn't, to play state or country representative teams in preparation for the big matches. But 4 times from 1894 to 1924, England actually played the Toowoomba team, a 2-day match here in Toowoomba. And each time a determined Toowoomba side forced England to get increasingly serious. Now, the first match was in 1894. The England 11 was led by captain Andrew Stoddart.
Yep.
Stoddart was an incredible athlete with the unique distinction of captaining England in 3 different sports. That was cricket, rugby union, and get this, Australian rules football.
Wow.
They had a team.
there you go.
Now, while it was an England 11 that played the match, it was against a Toowoomba 18 because the possibly arrogant Englishman allowed Toowoomba 7 extra players. And Toowoomba's batting, it was opened by the popular John Rosser, who had played first-class cricket for Victoria. So, we were no mugs. Rosser enjoyed a chanceless first innings until he was clean bowled for 42. And when it came time to bowl, Toowoomba's Stanley Kenyon, he was the best with 5 wickets for 84. And England were then unable to claim the 17 Toowoomba wickets they required to win in the second innings, with the home side's last wicket falling with the last ball of the day having just passed the English total. So that unlikely draw by Toowoomba actually foreshadowed a tighter tussle when England next visited. And they did, because the second match between England and Toowoomba came in the very next Ashes tour in 1897. This time, England captain Stoddart rested for the match, and so England's best batsman, the Indian Prince Raja Singh, captained the side. Yeah, he was an Indian prince. Toowoomba was again allowed 18 batsmen, and the 2-day match, well, it was again drawn, but much to the irritation, again, of the English. You see, Toowoomba was really resolute, as its only innings closed at 13 wickets for 243. But England needed 17 wickets. Now, 2 Toowoomba batsmen scored half-centuries. It was Phil Thomas. He had 85 runs. He was getting close to a century against England. How good would that have been?
Yeah.
He was a former Toowoomba grammar school boy who would unfortunately be killed in action in the First World War. And Tom Hayward, he had 68 runs. Now, he was an Englishman who I think was actually a cousin of the Tom Hayward who was playing for England at the time. Now, the third match between England and Toowoomba was in 1911. After Toowoomba's good showing on the previous tours, England's gloves came off, and Toowoomba were only allowed the regulation 11 batsmen, which is probably fair enough. But the result was not good reading. You see, England smashed us by an innings and 134 runs. Now, Toowoomba's Arthur James, he actually knocked up a half-century with 52 runs. Because, again, he was pretty good. He was a first-class cricketer for Queensland and had scored a half-century against the touring South Africans the previous season. And Toowoomba's bowling, well, it was opened by 2 grammar school schoolboys. And one of them was 16-year-old Eric Knowles, who began by bowling a maiden to England's great Jack Hobbs. And Damo, you being a cricket aficionado, of course, knows that Hobbs is one of the greatest batsmen in the history of cricket. And he's still the leading run scorer and century maker in first-class cricket. So how good would that have been for the Toowoomba grammar school boy bowling against him? In fact, Knowles later played first-class cricket for Queensland and scored a big century against Victoria. So we've had some pretty good players here over the time. Now, the last time that England played Toowoomba was another 2-day match in 1924, so 101 years ago. And England were again merciless. England won the match by an innings and 126 runs. led by Jack Hearn, with 174 not out. He wasn't giving any of his teammates any batting practice. Hearn had previously scored a century at the MCG when he was just 20 years old, to make him the youngest England player to score a Test century. Now, the only Toowoomba player who showed any resistance in this match was Frank Drews, and he scored a half century with 52 runs. So, Damo, despite the early promise of Toowoomba pushing the England team in the 1894 and 1897 tours, the huge losses to the tourists in 1911 and 1924, that spelled the end of the England matches against Toowoomba, unfortunately. Thereafter, it was country representative teams that received the honour against the touring sides. But just let me say, Toowoomba had already made its own Ashes history, you see, with outstanding performances by the local men like John Rosser, Stanley Kenyon, Phil Thomas, Arthur Jones, Eric Knowles, and Frank Drews. These are all cricketing names from Toowoomba's past over a century ago, but they're worth remembering. And they all came in two-day matches against England. So let me say there was nothing wrong with that two-day test in Perth recently. Toowoomba played it, why can't Australia?
Exactly, and I'll tell you what, the reason the English team didn't come back, they were scared of the Toowoomba players.
Exactly right, yeah, yes. There were some good ones there too.
Yeah, there certainly was. Mate, a great story. Now, of course, we can read this when you upload it onto your website later in the week.
That's right, on Friday morning I'll upload it onto my website, historyouthere.com. I have some old photos of the old cricketers too, which is really interesting, seeing their gear and stuff. But that's historyouthere.com.
Well, if you have a look at the 4AK Facebook page, there's a little teaser for today's show, and that is actually a picture of Stoddart and the team.
Yeah, that's right. They were some of the all-time great players in history, and they were playing here in Toowoomba. So that's a good photo you got there. I might grab that and post that, but there's heaps of them. I'm thinking of the Toowoomba players. You know, let's put the highlight on the spotlight on some of the locals too.
That's it. We're going to spotlight the locals for sure, mate. Always good to catch up, and we'll look forward to tracking back in time again next week.
I'm looking forward to it. Or just let me say, I looked forward to it, and we'll talk about it.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks so much, Harold.
See ya.
There we go, Harold Peacock, and you can check that story out and many others by jumping onto historyouthere.com. That story will be uploaded a little bit later this week.